Nestled against a majestic Rocky Mountain backdrop in Salt Lake City is the University of Utah, a proud, distinguished seat of learning. And at Utah, they've learned, among other things, the tested formula for a national championship basketball team. The Utes won that title last year, and here in this field house, they are plotting to repeat. Headed for a practice session are some of the boys who make up the title squad, a squad consisting mostly of 17-year-old freshmen, sprinkled with a few discharged servicemen. First, the boys circle the basket for one-handed pop shots, the Western style, which helped them beat St. John's of New York for the championship last winter. Now for some defensive drill, with the white team showing how it switches men in a zone defense. The same type of play in slow motion. Watch the man guarding the pivot switch to the one cutting in for the shot. Here's Utah's tricky out-of-bounds play, which has worked so well. In slow motion, the corner man blocks for 25, who spins around the stationary blockers to score. And now Madison Square Garden, New York, with Utah's name in lights for another game with St. John's. This is big league basketball. Tip-off. Utah in white controls the ball, and the Utes work it around carefully until they get it down into scoring territory for one of those short, sure passes to the pivot. The pivot gets it, whirls around, and Utah draws first blood. Interception by St. John's, but he's a little too anxious. Utah intercepts, and it's fired down to Ferrin, who drops it in. A long one falls short, but the follow-up falls in for St. John's. They square away to start the second half, and in a scramble under the basket, Utah tips one in. St. John's also knows the rebound business. This is the game with the blistering bounce for the fast and fancy. It takes the limit in teamwork and skill. And here is court craft at its best.
The LCI, Landing Craft Infantry, has spearheaded amphibious attacks all over the world. A powerful transport weapon of the United Nations, it has proved itself indispensable. But its fine performance is no surprise to the United States Navy. A model had demonstrated the boat's capabilities long before the first LCI touched an enemy shore. Here at the David Taylor Model Test Basin, the Navy tests and develops new craft of all types. When the first LCI was still nothing more than a set of blueprints, Admiral Howard and Captain Saunders, directors of the basin, went over its specifications, and a few hours later, workers began to build a model hull. They glued carefully cut pine boards, doweled them into place according to plan, and dovetailed the joints. Then, when the hull was ready, the dynamometer was installed for power. The craft was trimmed with weights to give it the right balance. It was ready for testing. Night and day shifts had finished the complicated and precise scale model in 3 days. Workers moved it into the deep basin, where in the vast testing tank, the embryo LCI could prove itself. This 42-ton carriage, driven by electricity and oil at speeds up to 18 knots, can be controlled to 2/100ths of a mile an hour. Rails set to the curvature of the Earth guard against gain or loss of speed from gravity. Here and in other tanks in the same building, models can be tested for lines, power, design, outboard devices, underwater rigging. Even projectiles can be studied. Such tests in miniature save hundreds of tons of metal, thousands of man-hours and labor, and valuable time that the Navy cannot afford to lose. The model is attached to the carriage, which acts as a guide and a control room. The boat moves under its own power. On the carriage, instruments tell the engineer every fact about the performance of the ship. When the connection is made fast, the engineer signals the operator at the controls, and boat and carriage move forward together. When the basin had finished its tests on the LCI, there was no guesswork left. The Navy knew, and the craft went into production. But as fast as one test is completed, another is begun. Here, for instance, a model aircraft carrier moves toward a launching trial in another part of the building. Hundreds of miles away in a naval shipyard, a huge carrier lay ready to be launched in a narrow channel. The problem, how far would the carrier ride? How quickly could it be stopped? This model told them the answers. Admiral Howard sent his recommendations to go ahead with the launching. The big carrier slid down the ways and rode just 10 feet short of the mark indicated by the test. Behind the ships at sea, backing up the interminable work at the drawing boards and the sweat of the shipyards, the Taylor Basin is constantly at work, giving the Navy ships that any commander is proud to take into battle.
Wherever you are, whatever you do, whether you're a soldier, WWII, sailor, wave, Marine, Coast Guard, or spar, this is for you. Here's a chance to pick up your education where you left off, or study something you've always wanted to learn right in your own GI front yard, in the United States or anywhere in the world. Your Uncle Sam has started the greatest educational idea in years, the United States Armed Forces Institute. You can study science, mathematics, engineering, radio, accounting, or any of 300 correspondence or self-teaching courses. Somewhere overseas, there's a PFC studying math. He looks to the Institute for help in getting a better rating. On a carrier in the South Pacific, there's a seaman who didn't finish a course in radio engineering. He's learning it on the way to Tokyo. There's a WWII in Algiers taking a course in accounting. She's got her eye on a better job after the war. How fast you learn is up to you. You're your own boss. The enrollment fee is $2, and that's all it costs you for as many courses as you want to study. Courses you complete may be submitted for credit in high school or colleges. How do you go about enrolling? In the Navy, you talk to your educational services officer. In the Army, you see your orientation officer. Or you can write to the United States Armed Forces Institute, Madison, Wisconsin.
or any one of its many overseas branches. Tell them what you'd like to study. It's their job to help you learn while you serve. There are over 500,000 men and women like you schooling themselves the Institute way. They know that education is a democracy's greatest weapon. Select the subject you've always wanted to learn. Don't delay it. Don't waste your time. Enroll now.
Jet-assisted takeoff, a Navy jet unit which permits carrier aircraft to take off in less space or with heavier payloads. An engine in itself, each cylinder is full of a solid propellant which includes oxygen in the mixture so it can burn without air. It has an electrically controlled spark plug which sets it off, and a rocket-like vent through which the jet gases pass to give their thrust. The unit is fastened directly to the fuselage. The thrust, equivalent to 330 horsepower, is available through the takeoff period. JATO units allow 33 to 60% reduction in takeoff runs, or a great increase in load. Once airborne, the JATO unit is jettisoned. A TBF takes off, relying solely on propeller thrust. Now, a jet-assisted takeoff. Beside aiding carrier takeoffs, the device allows more deck space for extra aircraft. JATO gets these SB-2Cs aloft in a flash in the Pacific, where every second counts. And here we have the experimental great-great-grandfather of jet propulsion, or something.
I start also with the assumption that this country, as one of the great powers that has lifted the terrible shadow thrown across the world in the last 5 years, must retain its armed force and its willingness and ability to make swift use of it whenever nations such as Japan, Italy, or Germany get into the hands of either outlaws or maniacs. I assume that the United States Navy will be one of the great elements of that power, and I speak to you as a group of men who will be officers in the naval service. However, I'm constrained to remind you and your older associates of the Navy that while the trained Annapolis graduates are essential to our ability to conduct naval warfare, the support of the nation is essential to the support of the Navy, and that the Navy that is successfully fighting this war is a civilian Navy. 3,900,000 Americans constitute its. Of that number, 400,000 are officers, and only 11,000 plus of those were graduated from this academy. I remind you that the Navy has grown 30-fold in its enlisted personnel. 3.5 million today against 100,000 in 1940. Right now, we are up against the realization that to man the Navy that we hope and believe the Congress will provide for us after the war, we shall need very large numbers from the ranks of reserves who are now serving and fighting chiefly in the Pacific. The officers of the regular Navy in all commands must realize and accept the responsibility of convincing young men of promise that they have the same opportunities and the same chances that are available to the graduates of this academy. In other words, that the criteria of advancement are the basic American criteria: character, competence, and capacity for leadership.
New York, New York, all around, New York is up, on the gallery down, the people riding all around, New York, New York. New York, New York, all around, the drums is up, on the
When the folks are out front there, they kind of especially like my first number, so I thought I'd like to do it kind of especially for you. I'm a lady hack, see, and I'm on the town and on the make. Hey, come here. This guy's on a 24-hour pass, and he wants to see the sights of New York. But, I think he's kind of cute. So... Well, let's go up to my place.
Oh, I'd like to, lady, but...
Oh, come on. I'm young, free, and highly attainable.
Look, miss, for years my dad's been telling me about all the wonderful sights there are to see in New York, and, well, now I'm here.
All right. I'll take you any place you want to go. Then, up to my place. The same to you.
My father told me, Chip, my boy, there'll come a time when you leave home. If you should ever hit New York, be sure to see the Hippodrome.
The Hippodrome!
The Hippodrome.
Did I hear right? Did you say the Hippodrome?
Yes, you heard right. Yes, I said the hip. Say, what did you stop for?
It ain't there anymore. The lights have all gone dark. It's now an auto park. Come up to my place.
No, Chambers Street. They told me I could see New York in all its spreading strength and power from the city's highest spot on top, the famous Woolworth Tower.
The Woolworth Tower!
The Woolworth Tower.
Beat me, Daddy. Did you say the Woolworth Tower?
I won't beat you, but I said the Did you stop for hey what?
That ain't the highest spot. You're just a little late. We've got the Empire State. Let's go to my place.
Let's go to Cleopatra's Needle.
Let's go to my place.
Let's see Wanamaker's store.
Let's go to my place.
Go to Lindy's, go to Lou
Go
Chow's.
to my place.
Let's see Radio City and Herald Square.
Let's go to my place.
Go to Rubens.
Go to my place.
Go to Macy's.
Go to my place.
The Roxy.
Go to my place.
Royster's,
My place.
Gimbel's,
My place.
Flatiron,
My place.
Building.
My place.
Hippodrome.
My place. Wait a minute. Well, this isn't in the show, but these gals are for you. Hello. Hello there, boys. Well, hello there. All right. That's enough of that. Hello. We'll pile into the cab and get on the town.
Pardon me, boy, is that the Chattanooga choo-choo?
A 1, a 2, a 3, a 4.
Pardon me, boy, is that